never talked to them boys that sat on them benches. I was in the game on 4th and inches.
What is going on, Florida State family, Seminole Nation, and the 863 tribe? It is your boy POLK, a.k.a. A-Lo, a.k.a. the goddamn truth. And we are sorry for the late start today. I had to go try to do some stuff in the gym, try to keep my boyish looks. So yeah. But man, oh man, it is, it's good. It's good to be a Seminole. It is good to be a Florida State Seminole these days. As you see on the title of this episode, Florida State's having a quiet offseason, and that ain't a bad thing, especially compared to the recent off seasons we have. Now, it's been relatively quiet. When I say quiet, doesn't mean things aren't happening. Doesn't mean big moves aren't taking place. Well, you know what that means? It means compared to those other two schools in the state, which we're going to talk about, FSU's just staying the course. Nice and steady. So that's where we're on. That's what we're talking about tonight. Hit that like button. We're going to talk about some news, the news and notes, obviously. What's going on in the big three. It's really just a big one to me, but I guess we'll call it the big three. And just some other stuff. DB coach finally is official. We'll talk about all of that good stuff and more on episode 74 of The Hangover. But before we do all of that, y'all know exactly what we finna do. Y'all know exactly what we got to do. We got to pay these bills. How do we pay these bills? Hit my like button. Subscribe if you're new. And the most important is continue to share the videos, get the word out, let them know what we got doing over here on 863 Seminole TV is unlike anywhere else on YouTube. As far as I'm concerned, it's unlike any other FSU media, period. YouTube, wherever you go. What we got going on over here, it just hits different. It just hits different. So, and finally, we gotta do a roll call. Gots to do the roll call. Then we'll get into this video. 27 people. Hit like. We'll see if we get some more people. I understand the late start. It's only 8:30 my time, but I know on East Coast it's 9:30. It is a Wednesday. We'll see if we get more people filling out in this chat tonight. If not, it's all good. What did Jay-Z say? It ain't many of us. Less is more. It's plenty of us. So as far as I'm concerned, less is more. It's plenty of us. Let's get this thing started. Briley in the building. Jamal M. Broward County. Seminole. Rock Frazier. Peter Shields. Member 863 Tribe. Jonathan McIntosh. Loading. Davius Freeman. Chad Kinsler. Chris Robinson. Tyler Hedden. Member 863 Tribe. Island Boy, 226 Tim, Todd Pope, Jeff, Dan Squatch, Let's Get It, Big Bus, Champs 99. What you got? Jeff says, won't be able to send you a super chat right now. My account got hacked and I got, get that. That's all good, Jeff. You donate more than you have to, so I'm not stressing or worried about that. Get that in order, man. Don't let nobody steal your money. So, yeah, I definitely got to fix that. Get the account squared away. Make sure they ain't stealing your money. Vontae B in the building, member 863 Tribe. I don't know if I said you or not, but Chad Kinsler in the building. Damian Adams, William Wright, Kenneth Bing, Jody Beard, Florida State Love, member 863 Tribe. 21 and 226 says Randy Shannon has been my mentor for recruiting for me using things to recruit at Miami Central. Been an honor, man. Also, thanks to my nephew, Pat Payton. Been chopping up with the coach. Hugs a lot as well. We talk and text a lot. Shout out to you, 226. And shout out to Randy, Pat, all them guys down there in Miami. Let's get it started. Where do we start? Well, this is where I'm going to start. Patrick Surtain is officially announced. Now, we know this time last week, it was announced that he would be your new DB coach, but he had a playoff game. He had a playoff game to coach with the Miami Dolphins, and they almost pulled a comeback. Miami almost pulled a comeback, like them Jacksonville Jaguars ended up doing. But Miami, the Dolphins almost pulled the comeback against the Bills. They fell short, which we all were kind of, I can't speak for you Dolphin fans, I'm sorry. For you Dolphin fans, I'm sorry. But for the rest of us, we all were kind of rooting for the Bills. So Pat puts out a statement. Matter of fact, can I find that? Let me read that to you guys real quick. Mr. Surtain your new DB coach, did put out a statement as he was officially announced. I'm pretty sure I retweeted it, so it shouldn't be too hard for me to find. Shouldn't be too hard for me to find. Maybe I didn't retweet. I retweeted the announcement. I didn't retweet what he put out. So I don't know if I'll be able to find it that quick. Let me scroll. Maybe Twitter line's funny. When I'm not looking for something, I'll see 37 million tweets about it. When I'm looking for a specific tweet, I won't be able to find it. So I won't be able to find it right now because I'm looking for it. Exactly. This is grade A podcasting. I should have probably had this ready before, but this is what we do over here. Again, I saw it, read it, but I didn't retweet it like I actually thought I did. And I forget who's. I would just search for the actual page I saw it on, but I forget who tweeted it because what I read didn't come from his. It didn't come from his official Twitter. Is that it? No, that's not it. Dang it. No, that's not it either. Okay, we're not going to waste any more time. I'm trying to do you guys a favor and find it. But like I said, now that I'm looking for it, I can't find it. When I'm not looking for it, tomorrow is going to be all over my Twitter feed. Right now, because I'm searching for it, I can't find it. It's okay. Too easy. You guys can go search it up yourself. Actually, I think Tyler just sent me a link on it. Here, let's do this. Tyler, this is why you have a rent. It was Logan who tweeted it. Shout out to Logan of Noles Game Day. So this is as follows. It's an honor to be joining the Florida State football family, Surtain said. So this is I guess this is Noles Game Day reporting it. So this isn't like an exact quote, but you get it. When my NFL career finished, I knew I wanted to make an impact on the next generation. And that's why I began coaching. Through my time coaching high school and in the NFL, I've experienced how to maximize student athletes' potential coming to college and prepare them to be impactful at the next level. I appreciate the opportunity to continue building on the DBU legacy here at Florida State. I'm excited to hit the ground running with our current team and to start meeting future Seminoles. So that is your quote from your current, present tense DB coach, Patrick Surtain. So there you have it. Next order of business. This one's interesting because this one, This one's interesting, and I don't know. Let me say this: I don't feel bad about it. That would be ridiculous to say. But this is really interesting what I'm about to talk about here because I don't. It throws a little bit of a monkey wrench. Again, not a bad thing, but it throws a little bit of a monkey wrench into what we thought. Well, we kind of knew the positions. Now, I did previously say the O line going into next year would be a question mark. Not necessarily a bad thing, but a question mark simply because not too sure the lineup, and now all of a sudden, Meach has announced he's coming back, or I don't think he didn't announce. Let me reel it back. He didn't announce anything. My understanding is being talked about that he might get a waiver for another year, and he's still currently listed on FSU's roster, and I believe he is currently preparing or getting ready to prepare for tour duty. And he is in the process of applying for a waiver or whatever the case may be. Now, if he comes back, I'm going to say, here's the beautiful thing. We got a whole spring and a fall to figure out. And one thing I'll say about Alex, he's going to play his best guys. So just because you transferred here, I don't think that automatically qualifies you to start. But I do think when I predicted Julian Armella would be your starting right tackle, I think that now comes into question because my initial thought was, well, Byers, he's going to be your starting guard. Now all of a sudden, Byers may be your starting right tackle. If you didn't, or if you don't know, they did do like introductory interviews with Keziah Holmes, Cypress, and Byers. I think those are the three. I might be missing one, but those are the three that I watched. And he said he's been working as a guard and tackle hybrid. There's no way Meach comes back. There's no way Meach comes back and he's not a starter. I mean, I said this last year. And to me, he was your most consistent starter. Right? His highs might not have been. He may have never had highs like a Robert Scott when Robert Scott was fully healthy. Or he might not have had the highs that a Dylan Gibbons had when Dylan Gibbons, was clicking on all cylinders. But he also never had the lows of a turn team. Or Darius Washington when he would struggle, or Maurice Smith when he would struggle. He was really just your most steady, solid as a rock. You kind of always knew what you got out of Meach. I can't recall him being penalized much, if at all. Meach was probably your best guy. If not your best, he definitely was your most consistent. There's no way he comes back and he's not the starter, in my opinion. So now you have to ask, Keandre Jones. I think it's been pretty well documented that Roddick is going to be pushing Maurice Smith for that starting spot. I said this before and I'll say it again. Every time we think they're trying to replace Maurice Smith, Molicious. Every time we think they're going to replace him, he kind of steps up to the plate, to his credit. We'll see how much bigger, if he's even able to get any bigger this offseason. I feel like we've been saying Maurice Smith needs to get bigger for the last 4 years. He continues to show up at 270. He just might be that, right? He just might be that. But Roddick's going to push that. So I think we all assume Casey Roddick's your starting center. I think your guards are now really up for grabs. And it's a great problem to have. I also think Meach coming back may be the writing on the wall for a Zane Harris or a Thomas Schrader. I think Estes is kind of firmly in the mix in that guard spot. And I know they like Estes. It's those other two that it wouldn't surprise me if after spring, one of them, if maybe not both of them, especially if Kanile Charlton takes a step or Quayshawn Saps takes a step or, one of those guys. It wouldn't shock me if one of those, if not both of those guys, hit the portal. Meach coming back is huge, but it does throw that monkey wrench. Where do they work Byers more at tackle or guard? You still have Bless Harris on this roster, folks. Now I don't know if he ends up on the roster starting season. I would assume so because he's already transferred, right? Because he already transferred, so I assume he wouldn't want to sit out another year. Matter of fact, and he transferred as a redshirt junior. So unless he gets a medical waiver, because he only played I think one game last year and hurt, so he might be eligible to apply for a medical waiver. Unless Bless gets that medical waiver, Bless is coming back as a redshirt senior. He only has 1 year left. Okay, so he's still on the like Tyler said. We are again. This is a great problem to have, but it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. It's going to be interesting to see who gets left out, and it's going to be interesting to see if those who get left out get out or opt out, meaning hit the portal. So great problem to have. I think before the additions of the portal guys, you were really iffy on your guards. Now all of a sudden, with Meach potentially coming back, Keandre Jones, Byers, and then some of these other guys like can Early slide inside. Can Armella, who I think can slide inside. You still have Darius Washington on this roster, folks. And he's their number one guy. Darius Washington is your primary swing offensive lineman. He is the guy. He's the first guy off the bench. Darius Washington has been the first guy off of the bench the last 2 seasons. Whether it's a guard or a tackle gets hurt, or the center. Remember when Maurice went down? Who was playing center? It was Darius. When anybody on the offensive line goes down, Darius Washington is the first guy off the bench. So Darius Washington ain't going nowhere. I even think he signed with Battle's End. I'm not totally sure on that, but I think he did. Darius Washington ain't going nowhere. He's your swing offensive lineman. He's the first guy off the bench, period. He's the guy that Atkins feels comfortable with it, that he can play any position on that offensive line. Washington's coming back. Bless Harris is coming back. You got that young core that they I mean, does Dontre Richardson take a step? He's one of the few elite, not the word. He's one of the few true tackle type bodies you have. What step does a Dontre Richardson take? I think Armella's going to be competing for a spot. I really do. But the competition just got that much deeper. I was pretty impressed with Byers in his interview today. I know they loved him some Early. I think Estes is in the mix. Again, does Quayshawn Stat take a step? I think the guy maybe, especially on the interior, I think Charlton has maybe the highest upside. Now, he's the rawest guy, and he has the lowest floor. But I said this when they recruited that kid, and we went over his tape. If you go back and watch that video of Kanile Charlton, when I went over his tape, talk about a wrecking ball, talk about a steamroller, a road, just that is Kanile Charlton. And if he comes in shape this year, if he's lost some of that bad weight, the sky's the limit for Kanile. The sky's the limit. And I saw the comment up here from Let's Get It. These are elite problems, guys. Again, I ain't mad at it. But his offensive line all of a sudden deep. Ain't even talk about the freshman. Can Lucas Simmons come in and be legit? I mean, he's legit 6'8". He's legit 6'8". It's great problems to have. With the depth, you would say, well, there's no need to rush a Lucas Simmons. But we'll see what happens. Right? I got Otto still. I think Otto's more of a project guy, but if you remember last year, when they would put the second unit, like in some of the blowouts, like a Duquesne, or some other blowouts we saw, where we saw the second unit, like maybe Georgia Tech. Did we play the second unit against Miami? I don't remember. I don't remember if we did. But some of them games, man, where we played the second unit, and you go look at some of the second string O linemen, we were putting out walk-ons still. We were still putting out walk-ons. We were putting out guys who were not like on real scholarship, really. I don't know this guy's name, but this number always stood out to me. I think it was 64. You're talking about a guy, the number 64, who's probably 260 pounds playing on that offense. But that's because they wanted to. That's because they wanted to save some red shirts and things of that nature. So go back and look at last year's second team O-line. You're going to see some names on that offensive line that you're like, who is this guy? Right? You won't see that. There's Stickle. You won't see Stickle. There's no way Stickle hits the field next year. No way. Stickle's going to be strictly scout team because your O-line's coming together nicely. O-line's coming together nicely, and again, it's a great problem to have. But as of January 18, 2023, I can say I no longer know. I mean, the only person, I'll say this, the only person I am 100% sure has a spot in that O-line is Robert Scott. That's the only one. No other, both guard spots I think are up for grabs. Again, we think Roddick's the center. Maurice Smith he tends to show up in these moments and be the best center on the team. The only guy that I think has a lock on this offensive line is Robert Scott. Everybody else, good luck, because there's going to be a competition. Somebody's feelings going to get hurt because somebody who thinks they're going to play may not end up playing. So that's huge, man. Big offseason for Armella. Well, he'll be a redshirt freshman. I don't want to go that far. So I don't want to go that far. I think Armella's maybe the most out of last year's crop, the most naturally gifted. So you would say, I think Armella and Early got so much high praise last year that you would look for them to push for some PT. I think both will be in the 2 deep for sure. I think both will be in the 2 deep. But whether Armella's starting this year or not, the next year, and it's always questionable to say the next year, but I think, Armella's dad played. I think Armella's a no. I don't think we have to worry, right? But this is this day and age. You can never guarantee. Guy doesn't get playing time for a couple of years. He's in the portal the third year. It's a possibility. I'm not saying it's going to happen. It's a possibility. But I think by his redshirt sophomore year, Armella's definitely starting. I think he competes, though. I think he competes. Because, again, especially if we're talking tackle, that right tackle spot's completely up for grabs. So, yeah, man. Look forward to this. I look forward to this year's O-line battle. I really do. I'm trying to tell you, every time we count Mo out, man, he comes in here and he shows up. We thought Caden Lyles was going to be the guy. And maybe if Caden doesn't get hurt, maybe he is. But even before Caden Lyles gets hurt, what do we keep hearing? And I didn't want to believe it, but what do we keep hearing? Caden Lyles isn't really that athletic. Maurice Smith has been working with the ones. He's been the better center. Caden Lyles is actually the backup. And I was like, man, that's all fluff. That's just all whatever. So we'll see. I mean, yeah, I think they brought Byers in to start, but I don't think it's guaranteed. I just can't put the word guarantee into it because Byers even said it in his little interview, like he's going to be working against talent that at UTEP he understood one of the reasons why he left UTEP was he understood that the talent, there was a cap level on the talent. And he understands coming here, and Atkins made it clear to him, like, you might be a priority, bro, but nothing here is going to be given to you. And if you think, and I agree, if you think Bless Harris don't have something to prove next year, or Brian Estes doesn't have anything, like, I don't think nothing is guaranteed, quite frankly. Do I think Byers probably ends up on the starting line? Yes. He was that good at UTEP. But like with some of these guys, Fisk and Byers, they play Western Michigan, UTEP. You have to ask yourself, are they really that dominant? Or was the level of competition just not up to par? I think those are valid questions to ask, and we'll see what happens when they get here. And if Byers is playing tackle, we'll see if he can. He ain't never seen nothing like a Pat Payton or Jarrett Verse before at UTEP. Hell, if he's at guard, he ain't seen nothing like a Fabian Lovett. Byers and Fisk, I'd love to see the matchup. You get what I'm saying? So, hell, Byers probably never saw something like a Joshua Farmer at UTEP. You feel me? So I just want to keep our expectations realistic here. We expect these guys to start. But some of these guys come in with some credit. Now, Keandre Jones is the guy who played at Auburn. He played in the SEC. And when he was healthy, he was like all SEC, if I'm not mistaken. Like second team, all SEC. Not last year, but the year before. So he's the guy that I would say he's played a level of comp that you would say he can make a seamless transition. I think for him, it's all about maybe getting in better shape. He's like 340 or something crazy like that. Maybe lose a few pounds. But he got to work for it too. Let's see what some of you guys are talking about in the comments. So Emmanuel's coming back. It's not confirmed or official, but apparently he's applying or has applied or is applying for a waiver to see if he potentially can come back for one more year. Unless we use him at tackle. But either way, I'd be shocked if Scott and Byers aren't out there. Scott's out there. I'm not worried about Robert Scott. He's out there. Again, Byers, I don't think anything's guaranteed. Mo isn't giving up that spot that easily. No, he's not. Armella will get snaps every game. I think so, too. I think Armella will be in the 2 deep for sure. And who knows? Armella could take Darius Washington's spot as that swing offensive lineman. Though I'm not sure Armella can play the center like Darius. So I think Darius is still a vital part of this O-line rotation. I used to pray for times like this. Don't it just feel different? Don't it just feel different? Man. Byers will start unless he gets hurt. If Emmanuel gets a waiver, he starts. Yeah, that's true. If Meach gets a waiver, I think Scott and Meach, again, I mean, you know what? And I can't even guarantee Meach. I want to, but it's like, I don't know, man. These guys are going to push each other, which I love to see. Like Chad said, man, hit the like button, y'all. Hit the like. Byers is long and has range. I'll probably stick him at tackle. O-line will be interesting. I'm confident Atkins will have them ready. Oh, I am too. I hope because Holmes can step up and fill the loss with Ward. Byers might have to come off the bench. Hot take. I think the third back. I think Hill is the third back, not Holmes. Okay, I'll talk about that next. I actually wasn't going to talk about that, but I'll give my take on that running back situation after I get done with these comments. We'll go into that real quick. Waited a long time, folks, for a team like this. We need to be cocky all offseason. These aren't promised every season. We have a lot of amazing problems to have on that O-line. I can see Hill stepping up, but Holmes definitely looks the part. We shall see. And then we got Bless Harris too. Let's talk about this running back room real quick that Tyler brings up with his hot take where he says he thinks Hill is the third back. The only reason why I would agree with you, Tyler, is because one of the things that kind of gets overlooked about our running back rotation last year, and one of the reasons why I think it was so effective, is because each guy was drastically different. Benson was drastically different from Ward from Benson, and Toafili from both of them. Toafili is like you remember Brian Westbrook who played for the Eagles? Toafili is kind of like that. Just can be used in so many different ways. Maybe not a true running back, more of a receiver, but can do a little bit of both. Benson, obviously, your power back, get him rolling downhill, and he's tough. He can break tackles, Ward, a little bit more shifty, good vision, patient, hits the hole, waits for it to open, is able to set up the blocks and all that good stuff. But they were so drastically different in their running styles and what were their strengths and weaknesses. You couldn't key in. If you prepared for Ward, Benson was going to kill you. If you prepared for Benson, which I think Oklahoma did, Ward is going to get you. And then LT was always a wild card, right? Here's the thing about the thing about Holmes. I think Holmes and Holmes, Zion Holmes and Benson are too similar of running backs. Now we still gotta wait and see, because Ward, I keep saying Ward, but Benson's weakness, in my opinion, Trey Benson's major weakness is still his patience, his decisiveness. He still tippy toes in that hole. Still doesn't have the patience to wait for his blocks to set up, right? Those are kind of Benson's two major weaknesses. I think his vision's fine. I think he just needs the patience, and decisiveness. If Zion Holmes is more decisive in the way he runs and his patience, he could. They're too similar to, I think, have the same effect that we had in the backfield last year.
Chico, come on. Go. It's bedtime. Get your iPad.
They're too similar to have the same effect. So when you say Hill could be your third guy, the reason why it makes sense to me, I don't know if it happened, but Hill is a different running back than those two, where Holmes and Benson are kind of the same guy, and Toafili still is Toafili. You don't really have anybody that's kind of like Toafili, right? Hill brings a different type of skill set, so it's not really a hot take to me. Well, I will say it's not that, Tyler. I don't think your take is like so far left. I think we got to wait and see. I don't think it's that far fetched. Just because you're talking about 220-pound backs in Benson and Holmes that might be very similar, you don't get the same effect, where they might need to find that third guy to be, maybe not Trayshawn Ward, but bring something different to the table. So that's kind of my take on your running back situation. So again, don't necessarily disagree with that. Bradley says Holmes and Benson are too similar. Oh, that's what I was just saying. Yeah. Because I have to fill Ward's touches. He's not a change of pace back. Ryan Hill fits that role that Novell's looking to match with Benson and Holmes. Oh, see, Bradley agrees. And I promised the guy, Bradley, I did not read your comment before I just went on my tangent. So great minds seem to think alike. So we're still considering LT a gadget back. I mean, what do you consider him? I like the Darren Sproles comparison. That's not a bad comparison. Darren Sproles is not a bad comparison. I like that. I like that. I wonder if we're going to see going. I wonder if we're going after Singletary. Talking about the corner that's transferring from Georgia. Don't know. Toafili got Percy Harvin type ability. He can do both. I don't know if he's quite Percy, but I get where you're kind of going with that. Yep, unless Toafili gets bigger, getting north and south quickly to add 7 to 10 pounds. Benson's patience still concerns me. I mean, it's part of his game he has to improve on. Toafili way bigger than Sproles. Is he really? I don't know about that. All the inside reports are Hill has been the one to jump out at practice. Toafili vision is mid. That's what holds him back. And LT and Singleton are tailback / scat backs. Well, I think it's too early to write the book on what Singleton is. We'll see. We'll see what Singleton ends up being. We'll see what Singleton is. What's your D tackle depth chart for spring? you start to run through it. Your fourth and fifth best DT is kind of crazy. Well, I think it's pretty obvious you're starting. I think you're starting 4 to start the spring. Obviously, Fabo, Fisk, Jackson, and I think Briggs is in the starting 4. I think Briggs is going to move back inside full time, and that weight that he had to lose to play some end, which he was still like 280, you put that weight back on, get back up to maybe 295, and of course, and that's just your 4. Farmer. Malcolm Ray's still there, but it would not shock me if Daniel Lyons or somebody like that jumps a Malcolm Ray. And, you know, D tackle is shaping up to be pretty good. Good thing Fabo came back because that helps a ton. Fabo coming back helps a ton. Helps a ton. Again, we haven't even seen Keziah Holmes to know that. I mean, I guess unless you want to talk about his high school tape, but he didn't play much at Clemson. So I don't know if we can necessarily say that, but we'll see. Again, I think there's a reason why Rodney Hill's name is being brought so much in the running back room. I would argue that they may not be as different as you think, but we'll see. Briggs at defensive end, he let me down a little bit too. Not gonna lie to you, but let's move on to, and we'll get to the portion where we start. I'll let you guys answer some questions. We'll answer that, but I mean, I want to move on to the next point because this one surprised me. And so I think it's worth a discussion. Then we'll kind of hit the main topic and then we'll get to some questions and answers. But I want to hit on, if any of you guys listen to the roll up, the Big 3 roll up, or I think that's what it's called, right? Big 3 roll up. Big 3 roll up. Man, some good stuff was put out today by Mr. Dontavius Jackson, former linebacker at Florida State. And I want to say this before I continue. Because after hearing what he had to say, now if you were listening to me 2-3 years ago when he was playing, you will know I was not the biggest D-Jack fan. Just the way he played the game just didn't vibe with me. You know, D-Jack would make somebody would run for 30 yards, D-Jack can make the tackle and then get up and hoop and holler. And I'd be like, bro, he just ran for 30 yards on us. What are you, so little things like that, right? Wasn't the biggest D-Jack guy. But after hearing, and I want to personally, and he probably won't listen and he probably won't ever hear that, but that's okay. He is starting a podcast, by the way. But after listening to what he told those guys on the roll up, and after hearing his story, I have to personally apologize to him. He still didn't play well, but now I understand why he didn't play well. He did not play well his time at Florida State. But now I completely understand why. D-Jack broke down the end of the Jimbo Fisher era and how that went, how that ended. And I'm just going to give like a quick synopsis, and I'm going to just give my thoughts on some of the stuff he had to say. But if you didn't listen, by all means, I don't want to take anything from with those guys in that interview. Go listen to that interview personally, Please go over there, listen to them if you didn't. But I do want to give my thoughts on what he had to say. So he broke down the end of the Jimbo Fisher era and how Jimbo Fisher lied to the team to their faces. They, according to D-Jack, they asked them straight up, And he lied to him. According to D-Jack, they could feel that Jimbo had 1 foot in, 1 foot out after the Bama game. According to D-Jack, they knew he had stopped recruiting. The discipline had just stopped being a thing. He wouldn't hold guys accountable anymore. Everything in that last moments of Jimbo Fisher's tenure was shed the light. Stuff that we knew and was talked about, but it's kind of good to hear it come from a guy that was actually in the locker room during that time, right? So he shed lights on the end of the Jimbo Fisher era, and his thoughts and feelings on that. But really the stuff that he shed the light on was, again, it's the stuff that we knew was bad, but I didn't know it was that bad. I'll be honest with you. We knew the Taggart era was bad, but some of the stuff he said today, and I'm just going to say this, I want to say a couple things before I continue because I know how this goes. People are like, why are we talking about the Willie Taggart? And they still exist. They still exist. So he hasn't started his podcast yet, Insane. He said but the podcast he was on today is the Big Three Roll-Up. That's with Silk, CJ, and Larion. Larion, a Miami fan. CJ, Florida State. Silk, a Florida fan. So that's where this interview is on, the Big Three Roll-Up. D-Jack is starting a podcast. I don't think he started it yet. Back to what I was saying. Because I want to get this out of the way because I know where this goes. Why are we talking about Taggart? Newsflash, the Taggart era is always going to be a chapter in Florida State, whether you like it or not. And it's always going to be something people are going to go back and talk about. And it's just the same way we can always go back and talk about 99 and 93 and 2013 and all those other years. We're going to be able to go back and talk about the era. It's just what it is. If you don't like it, too bad. Okay? If you don't like it, oh well. Sorry. As more things get shed to light and more players kind of get comfortable telling their stories, you're going to hear more of this. So as far as I'm concerned, if you don't like it, too damn bad. I'm still going to talk about it. That doesn't mean I go out of my way to bash anybody, but it's good to hear, or it's good to see that it's good to know what happened during that time. That's point one. Point two I want to put out. After hearing his story today, I feel like any rational FSU fan, because I do know the way the Taggart firing was handled, I know it rubbed people the wrong way. I wholeheartedly understand why it rubbed people the wrong way. A year and a half into a job and you get canned is kind of unprecedented. Now, if I'm not mistaken, didn't Auburn just do that to their guy? Wasn't he only there like a year and a half or 2 years out the most before he got it? So, but it's still unprecedented. It's like, wow. But hearing what he said, it was, in my opinion, if you're still defending if you still feel some type of way about the Taggart firing and want to call it whatever you want to call it, I think you got to go listen to what D-Jack said today. Because my opinion, totally justified in the firing of Willie Taggart. And again, D-Jack ain't got no reason to lie about it, I don't think. By the way, D-Jack said himself, he said, Taggart's a good person. He said, Taggart's a great man. He said, him and Taggart had a great relationship as men, but as coach and player, you feel me? So I don't think there's any grudge. Maybe I don't think there's any grudge in terms of he doesn't like Taggart the person. I think he does hold it against them how his football career played out. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. If you still want to defend Taggart or call the move, whatever you want to call it, racist, I'm not going to shy away from it, or whatever you want to call it, I think you really listen to what D-Jack had to say today. And what he had to say, you all might be asking. Well, let's just break it down. Some of the stuff we knew, the dancing, but people glossed over it. Oh, the music, other people playing music. D-Jack flat out came out today and said they would be practicing repetitions, plays, drills. And under Jimbo, first of all, under any coach. Now, I never played in college. I'm not going to pretend like I did, but any level of football that I've ever been a part of, if a rep isn't run correctly, the coach usually is like, hey, no, we doing that again. Run it again. Get back, run it again. So D-Jack pretty much said, under Jimbo, hell, if a receiver ran a route 2 yards too deep or 2 yards too shallow, Jimbo would threaten to start the whole practice over. That's how meticulous he was. A motivated Jimbo Fisher, as we know. Not that last year. Under Coach Taggart, they would simply move on to the next play. It didn't matter if the play was run correctly or not. It was like they were just going. You could completely mess up, and they would just keep going through the script. And he didn't understand it, and a lot of players on the team just didn't understand why they weren't being coached. One of the most damning things he said today was that he didn't have a position coach. Now, we all know who the position coach was at that time. D-Jack said he knows more football than Raymond Woody. D-Jack said he couldn't, no linebacker, Kalen DeLoach, Amari Gaynor, no linebacker in that room could even break down film with Raymond Woody. That D-Jack had to have film study in his own room and watch film with the linebackers because they weren't getting anything out of watching film with Raymond Woody. Now, I don't know how you defend it. I don't know how you defend it. Again, and unless you think DJ has some type of motive against a staff that's way gone, I don't know why he would lie about that. And again, to me, everything he said, it showed up on the field on Saturdays. So you can say it was a lie, but it showed up on the field on Saturdays. Pre-snap penalties, they couldn't execute. I mean, again, and go listen to the interview. I'm not making this stuff up. D-Jack said that stuff today. Go listen to it, man. I was listening to it kind of with my mouth open when I heard this man was saying that stuff. You don't need a coach. Lethal simplicity. Shut up, boxing monster. When that man said he knew more football than his position coach and that the linebackers couldn't even watch film with their coach and he had to personally do film, I said, wow. And he said he expressed that with Willie Taggart. And because he expressed that to Willie, that's when their relationship started going downhill. Dontavius Jackson said at one point when he finally got fed up and started expressing his frustrations is kind of when he said that is what did he do. He does believe that when scouts came to talk about D-Jack, that stuff hurt his potential NFL opportunities because he started to voice his opinions on not having a coach, not being coached. Don't want to spend too much more time on that because I do think you guys need to go listen to that stuff. But I think it's worth a discussion, man. Crazy stuff to hear. I thought it was cool. And he even said when he starts his podcast, he said he's going to go into even more depth on some of this stuff. I can't wait to hear it. It's a black eye on Florida State's, but it's a chapter that I think it needs to be discussed. I don't think we should shy from it. I'm gonna love to get the comments and probably after this video. I'll probably get some comments about how D-Jack's a liar. Because I remember when Keith Gavin came out not too long after he left Florida State and kind of spoke on that stuff, and people dismissed Keith Gavin because people were like, well, Keith Gavin, you weren't even that good. How can you talk on something? And the more people tend to come out, the more light kind of gets shined. And it shows that FSU did not do its due diligence with the hire. It also shows, and we'll end on this, but it also shows that some of the excuses that was made for Willie Taggart, which I do think are valid excuses in terms of the support he had, the financial backing he had at that time, an FSU administration that was in disarray at that time. Those are all valid excuses for off-field stuff, for staff, for things of that. But there's never a valid excuse for practices being run the way they were ran, for coaches not knowing their position group. Like, there's never a valid excuse for that. If you want to say Willie Taggart didn't have financial support, that he didn't have the backing of the administration, that they didn't give him everything that they're, again, different administration now, but they didn't give him everything that Mike Norvell's getting now, those are all valid excuses. But that on-field stuff, that actual coaching, there's no excuse for any of that. There's no excuse for any of that. No excuse for any of that. So I just want to leave off with that. Let me hit a couple of y'all's comments on this issue, because I know if you didn't hear that interview, you probably are, some of y'all are probably like, "Damn, that's crazy." Please go listen to it. Go listen to it. Lloyd says Taggart was terrible, and we didn't need an ex-player to tell us. Fair. Willie with the great finesse. Taggart was in over his head from the start. Boxing Monster with some ridiculous. Bump that. Willie Taggart got a bad deal. Best crunk playlist and FSU discrimination against Willie. Hunter says sad. That's wild. Wow, that's a damning accusation. Wow. Lining up backwards. Taggart staff was just recruiters, not coaches. We basically was ghostwriting the whip for 2 years with Willie. We go watch the roll of it. Yeah, go watch it. Absolutely. Don't want to take anything away from those guys, man. Go watch it. Please go watch it. It was good. It was good. Very insightful. Wow, that guy was not lying when he said simplicity. Simple. All right. I believe what D-Jax is saying, because we look like Western Kentucky. They actually looked good in the beginning at the Boise State game. Started off hot, right? In real time, I knew we were bad, but looking back on it, looking back on it, honestly, Zoe, I think if you look back on it, I think it actually, because those teams were talented, bro. We talk about that all the time. Cam Akers was on those teams. Marvin Wilson was on those teams. Brian Burns was on that team. Like, Asante Samuel's on this team. Levante Taylor's on these teams. Dontavius Jackson's on this team. Bro, Corey Durden's on these teams. Joshua Kane, though. Janoris Robinson, bro. We can go down a list of 5 stars and 4 stars. Hell, Akeem Dent, Stafford Samuel III. We can go down a list of talent on the team. We only won. It's pretty apparent to me. We only won most of the games we won based off of sheer talent. Based off of sheer talent is the only reason why we were winning 5 and 6 games under Willie Taggart. And that's sad. And it really kind of goes to show you that, let's go compare. The comparisons are always going to be there, right? Mike won 5 games with, compare Mike's 5-win team with Willie Taggart's 5-win team. And you tell me who had a better roster. I'm just saying. And y'all know me. I was not happy with last year's 5-win team. But when you put everything into perspective, compare them. Compare Mike Norvell's 5-win team. It had Jermaine Johnson and that's it. Go compare Willie Taggart's 5-win team. You tell me who had the better roster. So we were really bad, and talent probably won majority of those games, but we were a mess back then. I kind of don't want the D-Jack's bad juju energy during one of our most. Well, to be fair, D-Jack wasn't just all negative. He said he loves what Mike Norvell's doing. He says he doesn't. He said he doesn't even personally know too many people on the staff. Obviously, he probably knows Odell, right? Well, not probably. He knows Odell. But to be fair to D-Jack, it wasn't all negative. He said he just talked about his experience, but he said he loves what Mike's doing. He sees real coaching, real growth, and real culture. So he's happy with where we are as a program right now. You feel me? He just shared his experience. So I don't want to say it's bad juju. He said he loves where Florida State is right now, and he loves the staff, even though he doesn't know anybody really on that staff other than like Odell. He said he just loves what they're doing with the team. So scary, Tamarion Terry, like DJ Matthews, bro, like Kalen LeBourne, like we know what Willie had, like right, we know. It's crazy when you really think about it. It is crazy. It's actually pretty insane when you look at that. When you look at the talent that he inherited. What's going on, Sporadics? So the 3-win team, in the moment, obviously you're pissed, right? But even in the moment, and I'll answer this question, then we'll move on to some of the next stuff that I want to talk about. So in the moment, obviously, I know, Tyler, you've been around a while. Most people who've been around a while know in the moment of the 3-win season, I'm pissed. We're terrible. It's the COVID season. But you know, you never win 3 wins and you're happy. But again, when you look back on stuff and look at perspective, and even in the moment, if you go back and watch some of my live streams, I said in the moment, because they chose to go, remember, guys like Tamarion Terry shut it down for Mike Norvell, and Marvin Wilson was in and out with injury. They decided to go youth movement in that 3-win season. You saw guys, true freshmen like Steven Dix, Ja'Kai Douglas, and just a lot of true freshmen started playing on that 3-win team. You knew the losses were going to pile up when you're playing 3-win. When you're playing the true freshman in a year where your freshman didn't even get a spring ball. Hell, you're lucky you got fall camp because you didn't even know if a season was going to be had. The 3-win season, really, in hindsight, could be expected. Now, the Georgia Tech game, whatever. But after that, once Georgia Tech happened, and then once the Miami beating happened, you kind of knew they were going to just tear this thing down to the foundation, to the studs. And that's what they did. And ultimately, it was the right choice. They tore it to the studs. If you remember following that season, we had what you see Florida and Miami going through now in the portal. How many all of Willie Taggart's guys hit the portal? Every last one of them. The remaining Jimbo guys ended up hitting the portal, like your Corey Durdens and these guys. We had like 20 plus players at the portal at the end of that year. And again, I was never happy with 3 wins. I was not happy with the 5 wins, and I'll never be happy with it. But when you really look at it in perspective, where we are, given what was given to Mike Norvell, I can't. Shout out to Mike, man. Shout out to Mike. I think if people would put their emotions to the side, I think you'd appreciate what has been built and what's potentially coming. You know, I don't know if Mike ever wins us a natty. I'm not going to pretend like that's on his horizon. He has more to show before we get to that conversation. Where we were and where we are now, I don't know how many coaches pulled that off. Don't know many coaches pulled that off, guys. Tomorrow at 7:30. All right, man. I can probably make that one. I agree with that. I don't think a lot of us understood, or maybe probably still don't understand maybe how bad it was. Let's move on. Let's move on to kind of what the theme of tonight's show, or the title. And this is more about the other two schools than us. We have spent the last couple off seasons going through hell. Last year, not only did you have the Amarius Mims situation, we had maybe what was officially the first NIL holdout in Jarvis Brownlee, who started he wasn't going to show up this spring, and ultimately ended up transferring. Of course, you had the Travis Hunter debacle before that. Mike's first year, you have the Marvin Wilson incident in the offseason, where he basically called Mike Norvell a liar. For the last 3-4 years, man, every offseason's been a dreaded time for Seminole fans, where not a lot of good news takes place. And sure enough, something negative is going to pop up right around every time. It felt like every time something bad could happen. I remember saying this last year about the Jarvis Brownlee situation. I was like, of course, somebody would eventually hold out on some NIL stuff. And of course, it would be Florida State to lead the charge. I remember saying, like, of course, FSU would have the first sort of unofficial NIL holdout, where a guy claims he was promised some NIL things, so he ain't showing up to spring ball. And we talked about it then. There's no way you can bring a guy like that back, and of course he does transfer out of the program. Of course, Florida State would be the one team to get a second crack at a legit 5-star offensive tackle and not be able to close on that. Of course, Florida State would be the team that would get. I remember saying it then. You got a second shot of Mims, you can't miss on that. And what do? We missed on it. A lot of controversy surrounding that, whether Warchant jumped the gun, all that stuff, right? All that stuff. It felt like for the last couple of years, anything that could happen bad in the offseason had happened. And now, here we are, 10 wins, bowl victory. Could have finished a little better in the high school ranks. I stand by that take. I don't really run from that. I still think we could have finished better in the high school ranks, but solid high school class. Got a 5-star wide receiver. Can't be mad. Killing it in the transfer portal. Basically, any top players that hit the portal at this point is playing for us. And you look at the rest of the state. If you thought FSU had a debacle with Jarvis Brownlee in NIL, holy cow. What Jaden Rashada in Florida has went through is a mess. An absolute PR nightmare for the Gators is going on right now. To promise somebody a 13... This is the only thing I'll say right here. This is the only thing I'll say as a parent. And I'm not a parent. My son's not old enough, obviously, to be offered any type of scholarship. He just turned 4. So we got a while to go. But if any school offered us $13 million, I'd question that off the bat. You got to show me. And I'm not signing no paper, no contract. I want to see proof of funds. That would have been the first red flag for me. The Rashada situation is damn near devastating to the University of Florida. I don't know. This is going to trickle into other major recruitments. They have a 5-star committed to them right now, DJ Lagway, 2024 QB, 5-star. I remember saying this before. If Rashada, who wasn't even a 5-star, Rashada is not one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the 23 class. I think On3 gave him a 5-star. He's not a 5-star, but whatever. Even if you want to say he's a 5-star, he's not Arch Manning. He's not the kid that's going to Tennessee. He's not Dante Moore. He's not Jackson Arnold. Top 10 QB, yes. Top 5, no. If he's worth $13 million, what the hell is DJ Lagway worth? So when you get this situation has gone as I think this was even reported in the New York Times. This situation is being reported everywhere. I don't know how Florida fixes this other than giving him his money, but guess what? He's already been granted a release from his LOI. He's not going to Florida now. It's over with. I don't know if you're Florida, how you save face on that. I don't know if you're Florida, why you even would offer him $13 million. Unless you were trying to get into, for lack of a better term, a dick measuring contest with Ruiz over there at Miami. I don't know what Miami was offering him. But let's say Miami was offering him 8. And you said, well, we're going to blow that away with 13. Like, why would you even do that? Why would you even do that? The Florida situation is, I'm all here for it. Don't get me wrong. But it's pretty, that thing goes deeper than just Rashada. You can't set a precedent. They're dumb for even setting that precedent. You can't set the precedent at $13 million. Because again, if you're telling me Rashada's $13 million, there's no way if I'm Lagway, I'm saying, what am I worth? If he's 13, what am I worth? 20? Florida was dumb for even setting the bar there. They're going to deal with that. Again, we talk about NIL and who's good and who's bad. Florida State seems to be doing NIL the right way, though everybody called us broke. And what I always tell y'all about that broke stuff. What did old POLK always tell you about being broke? I said, Florida State ain't broke. We might be cheap when we want to be. We were never broke. We just had to get guys to spend the money the right way and who was willing to spend it. It seems like we were able to figure this NIL thing out, get parties involved, and get them to spend money the right way. Ain't that amazing? Florida over here writing blank checks that they don't even have. They can't back it up. And even if they can't back it up, again, you don't set a $13 million precedent. I don't care. Not for a 4-star quarterback. Rashada might be a good player, but he ain't that player. He ain't that. He ain't 13 mil. Always thought that number was ridiculous. And there's a reason why that kid didn't go there. So, on one hand, you got the Rashada incident, but let's get to the super chat by William. Shout out to William with the $5 don't know. Says, do you think Pat will be able to out recruit Mario Cristobal? I mean, Pat on his own out recruiting Mario Cristobal. I don't put it to you like this. And I said this before, and I stand by this. Florida State doesn't need to out recruit Miami. I need Florida State in that high school rank to get in that top 15. Get in that top 15, maybe right outside the top 10. If you're recruiting in that area and you continue to hit the transfer portal out the park, I think that's a sweet spot. I don't need you to, don't get me wrong. I would love for you to be top 5, top 10 even, right? But it's not, I don't think it's a necessity in today's age of football. Because again, Jaheim Singletary, 5-star corner last. He's hitting the portal. A freshman just hit the portal. I don't know if he redshirted or not. Yes, last year. If he redshirted, he's hitting the portal with 4 years to play. How many of those type of guys have we seen hit the portal this year? There's a bunch of them. So you don't need to out recruit market. You need to get your guys, get top-notch recruits. Don't get me wrong. And I think he helps you with that, but I'm not worried about, I'm not basing our success on out recruiting Mario Cristobal. That's just me personally, though. But thank you for the $5 donation, bro. Really appreciate it. And thank you for the question.
I'm in Tallahassee, I'm with the Seminoles. I've been getting to this paper, focus on my goals. Trying to run this money up and pull up in a row. All this talking gangster, that shit getting old.
And so on one hand, you got Rashada, and you got that situation. And then you got the irony of it all. Then you have, on the other hand, the Florida situation's worse. But that's from a legal standpoint. Florida situation can get bad. But this other situation just tickles me. It's just hilarious. And it shows that true color of these freaking fans. But this other situation, rewind the clock a year ago. Rewind the damn clock. And you had people saying Florida State, they're stupid. They're going to grow to regret not hiring Deion Sanders. FSU so dumb. Deion is great. Deion's the man. And there's a certain fan base was saying this. Deion is the real deal. Fast forward the clock a year. Deion's a scam. Deion's just a scam artist. He's just trendy right now. He ain't a real coach. He's going to ruin these kids' futures, man. This man ain't proving nothing. I don't know why these kids love him. What a joke. What a clown. The boys down there at that JV team down south are going through it. And of course, you know how all fan bases do. So now they've turned on Cromartie. They don't want him. He wasn't really a take anyway. He's lost a star on On3, but On3 is a joke of its website anyway, so nobody really values that. But you got Miami, some Miami fans co-signing that. You got Jake Garcia, who just hit the portal. What Miami's going through is just entertaining to watch. How the tides turn. Clowning us about Travis Hunter. Only for Cromartie to do it to you an exact year later. If that ain't poetry, brother, I don't know what is. If that ain't karma, I don't know what is. A year later, you lose your number one corner, the number one corner, to the same guy. Oh, and the spins. Well, he was committed to y'all for so long. That's worse than what Cromartie. But y'all was just clowning Florida when y'all thought y'all got him from Florida. Remember Ruiz dropping big bags. You mean tell me Ruiz bags don't help against Deion Sanders? Man, oh man. I am loving the fact that Florida State, we ain't got no negative pub. We just out here making moves to get this team better. We hiring good coaches on this staff. We about to start practicing, building this depth, getting these guys right in the weight room. Again, it's a good time to be a Seminole. It's a good time to be a Seminole, folks. We ain't got to worry about all this extra stuff that's going on in the offseason. Let me knock on wood or cross my fingers or whatever, because hopefully nothing major pops up. So far, so good. I know the year just started and it's only January. But so far, so good. All these other programs in disarray. We out here just being steady, handling business, standing on business, and getting it done. But I got a couple super chats I need to get to. Lord Zenu, sorry, with the $5. He don't give a comment, but I appreciate you with the donation, brother.
Bitch, be humble. Sit down. Be humble. Sit down.
And then my man Boxing Monster says, I messaged Coach Jurg. He and his feelings about number 7 going with Dion, as most Miami fans are. Which I don't blame them. You know, we were in our feelings too. You know, the biggest difference is maybe, I don't know who the hell's going to play corner for that team next year. No idea. I'll give you Greg Jones, boxing moves. Miami just they really did. They really did. So, bruh, absolutely. So honestly, guys, I just want to get on here. I want to get all the news and notes out. And I just want to get on here and gloat about the fact that you can say what you want to say. Florida State's just having a good, steady offseason at this point. We're trending very well for these 2024 kids. We just had a big recruiting weekend this last weekend that I was going to talk about, but I didn't come on Saturday. I had some other things going on. I think we got another recruiting weekend this weekend, but I'm not. It was a junior day last weekend. I don't know what's going on this weekend. I could be wrong. I think I heard somewhere that they're recruiting it. They got guys visiting this weekend too. Not too sure. FSU's just like a machine right now. You know, we're like a horse that's just focused on, got the blinders on, and we just going, right? None of that outside stuff, you know. And it's Mike Norvell's job to keep the outside noise outside, because the media is taking notice and they're hyping us up. I mean, top 5, top 10, as high as number 3 in some rankings, and these way too early rankings that don't mean anything. It's up to Florida. It's up to Mike Norvell. It's up to Mike Norvell to keep them hungry, focused, and remind them, y'all ain't won nothing. As a matter of fact, yeah, you won 10 games, but you lost to every ranked team. You lost to the 3 ranked teams you played. Now, you did beat LSU, but they weren't ranked at the time. But let's just keep it a buck. You lost to every ranked team you played. Like, if I'm Mike Norvell, that's what I'm, to keep them focused, to keep them angry, to keep them hungry. I'm reminding them. Yeah, we won 10 games. Who did we beat? I'm not ashamed to say that. I don't care how you win 10 games. I don't, for the people, for the haters, the rival fan bases that think that that's a knock. Well, y'all ain't beat nobody. Well, we beat who we were supposed to beat. And not only did we beat them in embarrassing fashion. So as far as I'm concerned, that ain't a knock. That ain't a bad thing. The first step to becoming a good team, to becoming a good program, is to beat who you're supposed to beat. Don't lose the games you're not supposed to lose. That's the first step. And then from there, you go on and you can pull some upsets. But the first step, beat who you are supposed to beat. Don't have the Jacksonville State games happen. Beat who you're supposed to beat. So to me, for people that throw that as some kind of knock or some kind of some way to discredit a 10-win season, that ain't for me. I don't take offense to that. You're supposed to beat who you're supposed to beat. And again, FSU didn't struggle with Georgia Tech or struggle with Syracuse. No, they handled the teams they were supposed to beat. Boston College handled them. That JV team down south destroyed them. Beat the teams you were supposed to beat. It's this season that now you start. It's this season that now you take that step to not only beat the teams you're supposed to beat. Well, hell, this season coming up, you might be favored in most of your games. I don't know if there's any real upsets other than Clemson, because I think you will be away in that game, if I'm not mistaken. Can you pull the Clemson? I said it before and I'll say it again. This year coming up is all about one team, And it ain't LSU. LSU was huge last year. LSU was huge last year because this program was coming into a year where in Mike's third year, he had a lot to prove. There's a reason why I told y'all I needed a 8-9 win season. This team needed, this team needed momentum. It needed to show life. This program had been embarrassed. We just talked about it the past couple off seasons. And a 7-win season, bruh. Imagine if this team would have won 7 games this past year and where we'd be. It'd be ugly. All these guys were pulling in the portal. Come on, man. We needed it. LSU was huge last year because he needed that. He needed that. LSU don't mean nothing next year. That's right. I said it here first. That LSU game means absolutely nothing because you can lose that game because you're still going to play Clemson twice. And if you beat Clemson twice, you still win the ACC and you could still get in the playoff. Next year is all about one team. Of course, you got to beat the teams you're supposed to beat, which is everybody else on that schedule, with the exception of LSU. You don't have to beat LSU. Do I want to beat LSU? Yes, I want to beat LSU. Don't get me wrong. I'm not like conceding that game or anything, but that game doesn't mean anything. It means nothing other than a bragging rights and a big out-of-conference opening week, Labor Day, top 10 matchup. Like it's going to be a great hype game, a great, opening, but the game doesn't mean anything. Especially you win that game but lose to Clemson, the game doesn't mean anything. Next year is all about one team. If you beat LSU if you beat Clemson 2 times, but you will have to play them 2 times, you're where you want to be. Again, you can't, no upsets. You got to continue what you did this year. You don't lose to any team you're not supposed to lose to. So you got to continue that. You got to continue that. But the LSU game don't mean a damn thing. Losing to LSU don't mean nothing. Especially if you beat Clemson both times. You're right where you want to be at the end of the year. Getting playoff conversation. See what some of y'all think about what I just laid on your doorstep. Success could be our worst enemy if we don't stay hungry. That's Mike's job, though, as the head coach. It's Norvell's job. You said it. I probably should have read your comment off. Commented. It's Norvell's job to keep the arrogance and complacency out of the building. Absolutely. Oh, is that true? Going over there with Dilly? That LSU is going to be the biggest non-conference game of the year, except big time. Yeah, again, a good spectacle, but the game don't mean anything in terms of where we want to eventually end up. The game means nothing. Any news on Singletary? Nope. No idea. He did hit the portal today. Man, we running down on LSU again. Again, I'm not doubting it. I'm not saying I don't want to win the game. I'm just telling you it don't mean nothing. If you beat LSU, you don't have to go 2-0 against Clemson. 1-1 would do. I don't know. Possibly. I mean, you're probably not wrong. But I don't want to be 1-1 against Clemson. I don't want to beat them. I want to take the ACC back. All right? I want to take the ACC back. Just beat Clemson, bro. That's just me, though. Just beat Clemson. To me, it's all about Clemson. Just beat Clemson. I wish we play NC State. Clemson, new OC. No, we need LSU game. You can lose to Clemson the first time and win the ACC game. Game is sold out. I know this is a linebacker from Alabama just at the portal. I wish the LSU game was a NOLA game. It's going to be in Orlando. We're about to increase staff also. That's why we got to win the whole damn thing. Yeah, Mike needs to win against Clemson. I agree about Clemson, but putting it on LSU is huge for momentum and confidence. Look, I'm not saying we're going to lose that game. I'm just saying it's not necessary. And beating LSU, as we saw this year, doesn't guarantee you're going to beat Clemson. I do understand the take, like you can lose to Clemson the first time and then beat them the second time, which I think would be the ideal situation because you are playing them at home, but the second time would be a neutral site game. So I understand that. But I want to make that statement, and I need Florida State to beat them both times. It's time to end the Clemson streak. What does Clemson beat us? 7, 8 years? Something ridiculous. Like, it's time to take that back. I think Klubnik's a good quarterback from what I saw in that bowl game. He's obviously was a freshman then. He makes young mistakes. There's going to be more tape on him a little bit next year. So we'll see how that goes. I think he's a solid quarterback. At the minimum, he makes solid decisions. We'll see. I do, and I think they're getting Shipley back, which I hate. That guy needs to go. Outside of that, I don't fear Clemson out. They don't name a receiver that they have that's worth a damn. Outside of Shipley, what offensive weapons do they have? Klubnik may be great. We'll see. How good is that offensive line? Well, I think they probably lose some guys. They're going to lose all them defensive guys. I'm not like what LSU is doing in the portal and recruiting. That game's going to be a war. The LSU game's going to be a war. The game's not necessary to win, though, for me. Look at Clemson. Look at where they are. Look at what they have returning. And look at what's leaving. And you tell me that that team's not right for the picking. This is why I'm telling you Clemson is important. If you can beat LSU, bro, you beating Clemson. I know I just kind of contradicted myself earlier, but when I really sit back and think about it, you beating LSU, bro, I think you're going to beat Clemson because LSU, in my opinion, is a better team than Clemson, especially going into next year. Look what LSU has added in the portal. I said this before. People talking about what we doing. Look at what LSU has added in that portal, man, in the secondary and on that D-line. And they recruited, what did LSU recruit? Top 10 or something like that? Like they always do. They bringing their quarterback back. I'm just saying. That LSU game going to be a war. But that Clemson team is right for the picking. You can't name a star on that team that's not named Will Shipley. Beat Clemson. That's how I feel. Beat Clemson. The only must-win was World War II. What about the big Clemson twice at LSU? What about beat all of them? I'm with you, Gerard. Let's beat all of them. Jeff Brom coming, and he might be coming, Marco. But guess what? He probably gonna need a year or two to get that thing right over there. He probably gonna need a year or two to get that thing right. We'll see what he do. You might be. Got to beat Clemson though. That's my point. You beat LSU. Again, every week's different, and the triangle theory, I get, don't work. I understand all that. Let me go for a little bit. It's the offseason, bro. We're gonna tell some lies. You beat LSU though, and you're gonna have a hard time, I believe, looking at that schedule and saying a team that's gonna beat Florida State outside of Clemson. You gotta beat Clemson. We shouldn't focus on anything because we don't play the game. I keep telling y'all be saying we. Mike has to have them focused. That's Mike's job. Mike should have them focused for week 1. Absolutely. Same way I did last year, I'm going to do this year. We going to talk about beating Clemson because I don't got to play LSU. They do. Honestly, I don't. Say us and UNC only have one ACC loss, and it's Clemson for both teams. What happens? Then I guess we would look at they probably would do like a strength of schedule or who you beat. Or we would just play UNC. Wait a minute. We would just play. Let me backtrack. We would just play UNC in the conference game, in the conference championship. There's the easy answer to your question. If we both have only one ACC loss, and it's Clemson, unless you're telling me Clemson goes undefeated, and now they want to figure out who Florida State. Okay, so I think what you're asking is, out of us and UNC, we both lose to Clemson, and Clemson, I'm assuming, goes undefeated. Who would Clemson play? I think they would also look at. That's a great question. I don't know. It's actually an interesting question. Maybe someone else has an answer for you. Because I don't know. Y'all remember that? Worry about beating this team. I don't have to worry about Duke. I don't have to worry about a goddamn thing. I'm telling you what needs to happen. I'll let the coaches worry about LSU. Obviously, you take every weekday at a game at a time. Highest ranking team, that might be how they figure it out. I haven't looked at UNC's, so I'm not too sure. Probably common opponents and who beat who. Probably something like that. Ranking, common opponents. They'll figure it out. And like Boxing Monster said, at the end of the day, they'll pick UNC because it's Tobacco Road over there. And ACC is out of Charlotte, right? So you know how that works. We know how that works. But Brandy, what's going on? Brandy, you came at the end. I'm sorry. That wraps up tonight's show. Thanks all for thank everybody who came in here tonight. Like I always say, man, hit that like button on the way out. Thank you. Hit that like button on the way out if you did not hit it on the way in. And just a quick recap, it just feels good to be the only stable program in the state of Florida. Shout out to the Cowboys. It just feels good to be the only stable program in the state of Florida. I didn't even really get into all the deep depth of, we talked about Florida, but Miami's got a lot of other things going on, bro. Outside of just Cromartie McClain. That quarterback room's an absolute shambles. If TVD was smart, he would have been the first thing he should have caught the first plane out of South Florida. Because that staff ruined a potential. Not only was it a potential Heisman guy, we're talking about a guy who was also getting NFL buzz preseason. That's all been flushed down the toilet with TVD. Sorry, I would have been on the first thing out of South Florida if I was Tyler Van Dyke, but he looks like to be the only answer down there. So it's just good to be the only stable program in the state. And look how, I didn't even touch on this, but before we get out of here, I mean, bro, did y'all notice something? When's the last time we had a Miami fan in my chat? I just realized that this whole stream, scroll up the entire stream, I didn't have one Miami fan even come in and say, what's up? They have been very quiet as of late. They don't show up no more, do they? They don't really troll that much. An ass whooping to do that to you. You get that bully, and you think he can bully you, and then you beat his ass, and then he don't bother you no more. An ass whooping to do that to you. An ass whooping to humble you real quick. And then not only when you get that ass whooping, then you realize some of the stuff I thought I had, I don't got. quarterback position, the quarterback room, that's humbling them too. All them portal guys they're losing a lot of talent and they're not replacing it. They realize they suck. They realize they suck. So with that being said, guys, again, hit that like button on the way out if you did not hit it on the way in. As always, it's your boy POLK over here on 863 Seminole TV. I want you to stay classy, Seminoles. I want y'all Miami fans to grow some nuts. Come back. I'm actually inviting you back. I'm inviting you back. First of all, I never told you to leave, but please come back. Y'all love to come over here when we were losing. I guess y'all just like to hear me rant. But y'all come back outside and play. You know, like Louis say, they don't even come out and play no more. Come back outside and play. We can still talk. Come back. You're still welcome. Don't be like that. Don't be the guys who was here to talk when we was losing, and then when we win and y'all ain't got nothing. Don't be that. Because when we was losing, y'all were deep in my chat. Always had something to say. Come back. Come back and holler at me. But stay classy, Seminoles, and we out here. Go Noles. And I'll try to get y'all something this weekend. Y'all have a great rest of y'all Wednesday night. I'm out.